Yeah, so we're going to have a little look at driving licences this morning. So could you just send us through the chat box, if you could just send us, yes, I can see the screen, you can see the DIA presentation, driving licences on the front page. Hello, Mr. Redwood.
Morning, Howard.
That's brilliant. Yes, spot on. Thank goodness. It's what I like to hear. Okay, so I've succeeded so far. Okay, it's all down to you now, Mike.
Downhill from here then.
Downhill from here. Yeah, we managed to get this far. Now we've got to actually come up with some content for you. Okay, so quite a number of you are saying yes, all good, spot on, I can see it. So, and we are recording the session as well now, so everyone mind their P's and Q's, which I'm sure you all will, so that's fantastic. Okay, so what I'm going to have a little look at now, what we're going to do is just go through the PowerPoint on driving licences. Okay, so but just before we do, I'm going to just start off with I'm just going to go to the next slide. What I might do, I might come out of presenter view on here. Okay, there we go. So hopefully you can now see our welcome back everybody screen. So as I say, we're now with GoToWebinar by Citrix. So we've got brand new software, brand new package, and it's all very exciting for everybody. It's really reliable. It's a very good, very highly rated package. We can do our screen sharing, which is what I'm doing with you all now. We can record the webinars, and it is recording as of now. And we do, we like to, we've added this as an additional membership benefit for our members. So it is a members only webinar. So we will make the recording available. I do need to whiz this past Matt, our tech guy, who's currently in bed with the flu at the moment, as quite a few people are here at DIA. It's spreading like wildfire, and it's only a couple of survivors left right now, and that's me and Mike, I think. But it's starting to get its gripped into me as well. So once Matt's back, then what I'll do, I'll go through and he's going to decide where it's going to be. The members area on the website is an obvious choice. Okay, so now your question's answered. So what I'm going to do, a lot of you very kindly, as requested, sent us some questions. Oopsie daisy, sorry everybody. I don't know if you can see what I've just done. Sorry, it's my new laptop and I haven't got to grips with Windows 8 or whatever it is at the moment. So there will be, I hope none of you saw that. It was just my menu system came up on the screen. So, okay, so your question's answered. So this is the first question that I've retrieved from what you've put in. So Mike, did you want to have a little look at that one and have a discuss?
Okay, so I understand the paper counterpart will not be issued in future. That's quite correct. My question refers to responsibility of ADI to ensure pupils are legally allowed to drive. I have spoken with Mark McGee, Registrar, prior to coming here today. This is not going to happen until at least the middle of February. That's the first thing to point out, and really quite relevant to point out. So until the DVSA give official notice, or DVLA actually, it's going to be DVLA will give the official notice, which they haven't given to the DVSA at the moment. Until that happens, everything will stay exactly as it is at the moment. So any of your candidates that get to the 1st of January whooping and shouting and have a mass burning of counterpart licenses in their streets, they will need them if they're going to go to test, and they have to still take that counterpart with them. So do stress to your customers, they cannot get rid of it until you tell them to, if you want to tell them to do that, because frankly I'd probably keep hold of it if I've got one. So that's the first thing to know. It's not going to happen until at least the middle of February. The Other thing which I asked Mark about, because I thought there would probably be questions about, so I'll preempt the questions, is what happens at test time. And the word at the moment is don't know. So that's kind of killed probably most of your questions. Sorry about that. But actually the DVSA do not know right now what they will do on the day of a test regarding licence checks, because the DVLA haven't told them. And until the DVLA say this is what you need to do on the day, or this is what's going to be happening, then the DVSA don't know what they're going to do. So as and when that information comes out, we'll definitely notify it through all of our channels, magazines, online, website, social media, and all those things. We will keep you up to date with, so keep looking out for those. Or of course you can always phone and ask questions individually at that time. So that's a little bit of update as to where the system is as far as DVLA and DVSA are concerned.
Okay, so hopefully that's covered that. So, how can an ADI check pupils' licence being suspended or cancelled without the paper counterpart? So that is something which some of you may be aware of, some of you won't. I'm actually sending it via the chat box. And there's a link, and it's to the gov.uk website, and it's a View driving licence facility which is on there now. It's free to use, and what you'd need to do is have 3 identifiers in order to access the details on somebody's licence, and that is the name and address details the license number, the postcode which is on their license. So if they've moved, it's still the postcode on their license, so that's the one it's registered with, and also their national insurance number. So once you've got those 3 identifiers, then you can access their license details. You'll be shown a screen, first of all, their personal information, name, address, etc. Then you'll be shown what they're entitled to drive, and then you'll be shown any endorsements or anything like that. So not everybody can just go in and view another person's licence, because we don't each know our NI numbers. That is quite personal information. Even if you do know their driver number, or you can work it out if you're clever, or you know their postcode. But not, NI number is far more of a secure thing. So, for example, you can use this system before taking anybody out on the road to ensure that licence is valid and they are able to drive. So, okay. So have a little look at that link if you haven't done so already. Okay, so some more questions on the PowerPoint. So again, a lot of these are questions that you have all kindly sent in. Some of them are, it's the same question but written in different ways. So we will be going through, it will be a little bit repetitive to a point, but I haven't put names and things on here, but you might recognise your own question. So what is going to be in place to protect ADIs from taking banned pupils out if we no longer have a counterpart to check? We won't be insured, surely, and therefore risk our livelihood. Well, again, as we've been saying, you can look at the View driving licence, use that facility, and you can do it any time as long as you've got those 3 identifiers that I've discussed. As Mike says, you're still going to need the counterpart for a short while, aren't we?
Yeah. Until it's official, they will have to take their counterpart. Unfortunately, licence fraud is not new, and seeing a bit of paper from someone is not a guarantee that they have a licence. That could have been manufactured to say whatever the person wants it to say, and there are ways around that. There's things that people have done for a long time now. So really the best way to check everybody, even if they have a counterpart, is to go onto the website, the link that Olivia's given, because that's a genuine check on a DVLA website, and it'll help you and it'll help them. And the reason it'll help both, A, it'll mean that you're checking to ensure that your candidate has the right entitlement to drive, and it'll also help them because there's no guarantee that mistakes haven't been made by DVLA, and what's on the licence may not correspond to what's on file or on record at the DVLA. So therefore, if there's an issue with that person's licence for whatever reason, they could yet still turn up to test and have a problem because their licence might not match the records that the DVLA have got, or the licence that you've seen might not match the information DVLA have got. So therefore, your line to your pupils would be something along the lines of your responsibility as a driving instructor, just to make sure that everybody's licence is correct, is done to protect everybody and to make sure that they're not inconvenienced when it comes to booking or taking a test and turning up and finding that the DSA have any issues with their licence. Or even for their first lesson, you don't really want them to turn up if they then produce a licence to you which you say, well, actually you don't have the right entitlements. So a pre-check before a lesson, before the first lesson, and certainly before anybody books or takes a test or tries to book or take a test, is just really helping them to be more efficient.
And it's best practice as well,
yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
it? I mean, those of you, we've been, I know national standards, we've been going on about them for quite some time, but the national standards for driver and rider training, as we're doing a lot of our events on, if you look at Unit 6.2, which is called Design Learning Programs, and in there at the beginning, that's what it states, you need to make sure all this is in place, which, in fairness, ADIs do, and they have to for a legal responsibility, but it's best practice to have a lot of these things done, and technology now, like this system's making things easier for ADIs, for trainers and people who need to check this information beforehand, and it can be accessed, so with obviously with their permission and their details. So it's, technology is sort of helping us out in that respect, rather than turning up on the day and sort of thinking, oh, don't know, not sure if this looks like this person, don't know if it's a fraudulent licence, or you don't like to think that, but it could well be. There are so many out there are thousands. So and we'll get on to fraudulent licences in a little while. So let's have a little look at the next question. So when paper counterparts are dispensed with, will we DIA consider a members area that links to DVLA for licence checking? I use DVLA's expenditure premium phone system, which is not 24/7. Yeah, I do understand, and a lot of people will be nodding their heads at this one. It's something like 59-60p a minute, and if you've got any restrictions on your tariff, whether it's a landline or mobile, you can't ring this number because it's such a high cost number. I've used it a few times in the past, out doing training and fleet training and things. But again, coming back, it's for your driving licence, so that's hopefully going to be a big saviour to all. Next question. So, how will an ADI be able to know about any driving offences on the client's licence for that paper counterpart? From what date will the new legislation be effective? Are DVSA theory and practical tests in sync with the legislation effective date? Well, again, same answer to the first bit. It's the view driving licence. You can do that. What date will the new legislation be effective?
Don't know. We'll await DVSA information for that, but it's at least the middle of February.
Okay. As Mike says, we'll continue to update you as we find out ourselves. Are DVSA theory and practical test centres in sync with the legislation effective date?
Yeah, again, DVSA are waiting for DVLA to give them information, so they do work quite closely together, and they will then decide what process there's going to be for test date.
Okay, great. So how do we check disqualifications without a counterpart?
Yeah, same again. View driving licence. It shows on there any points, or if it was disqualified, obviously it would say that as well. Shows what categories they have, and shows the licence information, name, address, and everything else. Again, a couple of people have said to me, oh, but they might not want to give you their national insurance number. I think if it's put across to them correctly why you need that information, I don't think they'll have a problem. Anybody who's that guarded about allowing you to go in and check that license, then that would raise a little bit of an alarm for me anyway. So I'd need to reconsider whether I'd want to take that person on. If they don't want to give you that information, then really they're not being upfront. It could be that you could get them to sign in and you just see the information, so you don't even need to take their details. Most ADIs, I believe, now have got a phone that will connect to internet. Even I have. So, you know, if I've got it, everyone must have. It doesn't necessarily need to be a tablet. It can just be done on your phone. You can go through, connect to DVLA website or gov.uk, go and get that information on your phone, and they can sign into it, or ask them to sign in with their phone, because they've probably got a better one than you anyway. More up to date, paid for by mum and dad, obviously.
Absolutely, thank you, mum and dad, you know. Okay, so next question. How will we be able to see any previous and current convictions? How will we recognise counterfeit licences? Right, the first question, again, believe we've answered that one. Again, back to view driving licence. How will we recognise counterfeit licences? Now, that's a very good question, and as I say, I'm going to come on to that in a short while, so I'll hold that thought for just a moment. We had a little look at this one this morning. Will the PLPI cover provided as part of DI membership cover members if they believe they have taken all necessary steps to confirm the validity of a licence, and it subsequently turns out not to be the case?
With this, okay, if we look at that step by step, firstly, have you taken necessary steps to confirm validity of a licence? Up to the point when they had the online checking system, by seeing a licence, confirming all the details on it were correct, and you know that it's that person, it's the right photo, it's the right licence, it shows all the entitlements that they have. If you've seen that licence and you're quite happy that it looks, you know, like a genuine licence, then at that stage you have taken all necessary steps, and you would have covered yourself in the event of something going wrong. So if it turned out that person had been banned, but their licence wasn't showing that, and they'd forged it and it was good enough that you wouldn't recognise it, then you wouldn't be accountable for that, because you have taken reasonable steps to check. The fact that there is now a view driving licence facility, then that might well supersede it. I would make a point of checking every person's licence through that system, because that's up to date now information from DVLA. So therefore it's got to be worth doing that, and it's free because you don't have to pay to go in there, you don't have to pay to go online. So it is a free service that you can get up to date information about a licence. So I would say that's the best way to go, because you know the licence that you're looking at might look genuine. Obviously you need to look at the photo, and it needs to be them and their correct address and all of that stuff, so you haven't got someone else sat next to you looking at that information. But if the photo is correct, then and they can provide the information to log in, then that's covered. As far as the PLPI cover that is provided by the DIA, that's not really to cover that kind of thing, because public liability is to cover in the event of something happening where somebody or their property gets damaged. The professional indemnity cover is when somebody questions your ability as a trainer. So have you done your job correctly in training them, teaching them to drive? So that again isn't really a license issue. What would be a license issue is if you took somebody on, they went down the road and crashed, your car insurance then, if they were an unlicensed driver, that would reflect on your car insurance, not PLPI. But if you've taken all reasonable steps to ensure that they have got a license, even if it turns out that it's fraudulent, then you've taken reasonable steps, and your car insurance should also cover that. The bit in brackets there, and the car is taxed, again, that's not really a PLPI issue. If it's your car, then presumably it will be taxed anyway, but I'm assuming this question was asking if you're in somebody else's car, well, if you're in someone else's car, you'll want proof of tax. I would never sit in anyone else's car now, a learner, if they wanted to use their own car for whatever reason, and you know you're happy to do that and you're insured to do it. I would want to see that car is taxed. I want some physical proof of that now, because you're putting your neck on the line and getting in a car, and if it's untaxed, then yes, you have a responsibility that maybe you should have checked it. And equally, if someone gets in to challenge yours and says, I'm going to go and take this car to test, how do I know it's taxed? You need to be able to prove that to them. So a receipt that it's been taxed, or you can go online and check that as well.
You could just do a screen print, or a lot of it's online as well now.
Yeah. So just have proof, notification that your car is taxed as well. It's one of the things that, as an ADI, you've got a bit of an obligation to do, so that anybody who's entitled to ask can, and you've got the proof that it is.
Mum and dad, parents, anyone paying bills for training, take it along. As we've been saying on the standards days, best practice, if you're going to be, thinking about taking things like a CPD folder to a standards check, that's great. Not mandatory, but it does say something, having something like that to take along with you. But to have also like your motor insurance, because when it comes to the time of that practical test in the waiting room, an examiner is asking them to sign the DL25 to say it's a residency and insurance declaration. That car needs to have the correct insurance in place. And there was one occasion, I don't know who it was now, but where the pupil turned round and said, I won't sign it because I haven't seen the insurance, the motor insurance, haven't seen it. And I think that's fairly rare, but how awful was that for all concerned? Even though the car was genuinely insured, and it was fully legal, they questioned it because they hadn't had sight of it. And you got to think, well, okay, they got a point. So take along, or have it on you. Copy your motor insurance, copy your tax disc, the payment, and everything else, MOT if it's over 3 years old, anything like that, to say, yeah, this is me, this is what I do, this is all my documentation to support what I'm doing. We need to have an in-date badge in the windscreen, so why stop there? Okay, so have a next one. How will we check for disqualifications with the counterpart? So yeah, I think we've established where we're going with that one now.
Sorry, could you remind me, where do we do that?
That would be gov.uk/your driving licence.
It's a bit like I'm on Children in Need.
Now. Okay, so that's all good. So I do know, there's one or two extra ones, and I know some of you have been asking questions, so on the chat box, I'll come to those in a minute. So experienced drivers, NDAC courses or fleet training, how to check endorsements for practical training if clients are only presented on the day. Mike's umming.
Right, okay, can of worms. NDAC, NDORS, all those courses, most of the time, the system that is in place for most providers is that the license would be checked by the person that's inviting or by the authority that's inviting that person to the course. And I have had conversations with trainers who are concerned because they've been told you do not need to see a license, it's all been checked, and you just take them out in the car. I have an issue with that, because I think the person taking them out in the car has a right and a responsibility to see that license before they take them out in their car. That again, this is a difficult situation, because instructors obviously want that work, they take on that work, and it's worth money to them. There's also a lot of trainers who would fill that place if they didn't. So the providers of the NDORS courses have really got instructors over a barrel to a certain degree, and saying, well, if you don't conform, then we'll get someone else. So then your moral issue and your money issue and everything else has to be taken into account. When I used to do speed awareness and other courses for West Sussex, we always used to check the licence before we took them out in the car. That was raised as an issue a couple of times. I'm going back a few years now, but that was raised as an issue on a number of occasions where people didn't turn up, and the people booking them were going, oh, we'll just take them out because they've all done licence. And we, as instructors, we said no, we wouldn't do that because we need to see them on the day, and our concerns were upheld by West Sussex. And they said, no, okay, that's fair enough. If you want to see the licence, then see the licence. And that was the way it was. But I know there are other authorities that just say, no, take them out in the car. You've got no right to ask for it. I don't agree with that personally. But that's down to the trainer to decide, you know, what they are willing to accept. The theory being, obviously, that if they're on an indoors course, then you know, the person that is inviting them there should have full sight of what's happening on the licence. But you know, you want to maybe check that licence to check it's the person. So it could be for, it's not necessarily the endorsements, it's to check the person is the person that's signing in. So it's an identity check more than anything else. You want to make sure with that. And so there isn't a definite answer to that, but that's down to instructors to find out what the providers are expecting them to do, and whether they feel that's right or wrong. Then you might need to challenge it, but be careful if you challenge it, because it might just be sidestepped.
Okay. So a little look on here. Right. This one here. I'll come back to. Well, no, actually, I'll just touch on it now. This crept in, so I know it's not, you know, particularly relevant for the topic, but somebody has put it on here, so felt it was important to ask. Disability training, all I'm going to do, this is the webinar's about licences, so I've just thought I'd answer it whilst we're here. You can come to us. We have our lady Sue Vernon on side, she's one of our members. She's done a course for us, and we'll be running it on the 6th of March and 17th of April next year. There will be details going live on the website shortly. So have a little look on there. So I'm not going to go into that anymore, but I thought, you know, someone's felt important enough to put it on the booking form, so I thought I'd just mention it on there.
And the webinar?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, Mike's just given me a nudge. I need it today. Yeah, we will be doing, those of you that have been on the website and booked for this webinar, you would have seen some other ones. And since some of you may have looked on there, there's been other ones added. There are 3 over January and February between myself and Sue, and we'll be talking about a new course coming out on those dates. On the March one will be like Walton-on-Thames, so further down south, and the other one, April, will be Manchester, day after one of our events. So, as I say, details will be out shortly about those, and it will be live on the website shortly as well. So yeah, hopefully you can all tune in for all of that. Okay, now the next thing I was going to say is update on another new course. Now, we've been talking about fraudulent licences and touched on that during the day today. What we've done, we've teamed up with people called Driving Licence Expert, and the course, it's accredited by the Chartered Society of Forensic Sciences, and it's been written by a specialist serious and organised crime investigator who is forgery detection trained to the highest levels and has 30 years police experience. The course will provide in-depth insight into the full range of relevant topics, including identity documents, imposters, types of offences, fantasy documents, and the many security features of UK licences. And 1 or 2 things I picked up from it as well, Machine, to say it does go into quite some depth with checking physical licences and things like that, and how you can do even more than you're doing to spot a fake one. we've been talking a lot about the online system, about gov.uk and the View driving licence, but sometimes there will be still the need quite often to check the physical licence if that's not possible, or as well as. So this is a really good thing for you. So if you are a little bit, you're wondering, I don't know if I can tell the difference between the real and the fake, they are extremely sophisticated fake licenses. They look like the real thing, and they can easily fool somebody who's used to checking them. It's knowing what to look out for, and there's things on there, as I say, that I've learnt from going through it myself. It's been estimated there are around 40,000 drivers on UK roads illegally after fraudsters took their driving test for them. And motor finance fraud losses alone are estimated at in excess of over £11 million a year. So that's why this comprehensive online course delivers everything you need to mitigate your personal and professional liability, limit your exposure to identity fraud, and increase your professional knowledge and help you feel more confident in your ability to check licences effectively. So it is the way the course works. It is an online course. It is a small course. It won't take you very long at all. It's about 2 to 3 guided learning hours, about 2.5 guided learning hours. Guided learning hours are average person on an average day. So it won't take you long. It's not one of these long, arduous courses that you've got to think, oh, blimey, I'll sign up for it, but what have I got myself into? It should only take you literally a couple of hours to complete. You can do it in your onesie, in your slippers. Can't believe I said onesie. On the dark nights of January and February. It will be released in about mid-January, and DI members can take advantage of it through our website. So what I wanted to do was to I'm going to get a little bit technical, a bit sophisticated here. So what I wanted to do was to ask everybody what you thought of such a course from what I've said. So right. So okay. So have a little look at that on there. So I can see you've all seen that. So, oh blimey, we're about, okay, interesting. We can see all the live results in progress. It's fluctuating. It's neck and neck. Only there's a very small take up on the no, which is good. So, but a lot of you are in favour of it. So once everybody's voted on that, nearly all of you have voted. So if you haven't done so yet, if you could just, as 96% of you have cast your votes, right, you've all finished. So
I was just going to say, we know the ones that haven't, will be around your house later.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
Yeah. So okay, so what I'm going to do is close that poll, and you should see results now on your screen. So 48 and 48, yes, definitely, yes, I think so. So quite a number of you are interested. 4% have said no. So that's absolutely fine. These things are not for everybody, but it's nice to know the vast majority thinks it will be good. So fantastic. I just thought I'd do that. That's another new feature that we're getting used to on putting polls up on the webinar. Okay, so also what I'm going to do, I thought let's have a little look. I'm just waiting for my screen to catch up. Okay, what we're going to do now is have a little look. A couple of you have kindly asked some questions, so I'm going to go to the list and have a little look to see if we can answer some of your questions now. So bear with me. It's actually quite a small screen, so I'm just having a little look. Right, okay. I'm not going to say who's asked. Oh, it doesn't actually tell me, I don't think. Okay. Okay. DFT have pulled the plug until a decent online system is designed for fleet Freight Transport Association were asked to pilot a system, and this did not work properly for lorry drivers who were out of the country. This is the reason for the delay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant information. What if a pupil does not want to provide their NI number? Sorry, if you have answered this, I had to restart. No problem. Okay. Well, what do we think to that? If they're withholding information, is there a view on that? Or?
My personal view would be, well, two things. If they're reluctant to give you the national insurance number, but they're happy to input it themselves so you can view their licence, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if somebody is reluctant to give access to you to get the information you require, A, to ensure that you're acting correctly, and B, if it's worded to them that it's to prevent any hitches that might occur during the process of their learning to drive, if they're not happy to give you information on that basis, I would be very dubious about taking that person. They've got something to hide. That would be my view, and I wouldn't really want to take them, because if they're not upfront, then that's not right. There's something that's wrong with that in my mind.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they might. It could be a case where, as Mike says, most ADIs have got access to the internet whilst they're out and about. So, it could be something which, if you met up with them beforehand, you could check at the time. So they're not actually giving you their NI number over the phone if they don't feel comfortable with that, and that's fair enough, to be honest, because it's a very private number. So, and I would have issue with that if, I wouldn't be giving my NI number out either. And it's something which, they should not be encouraged to do, and should be advised against it. So, it's a case of, if you're both in front of a computer, laptop, tablet, smartphone, input the information, and they can input that bit of information themselves if they want. You don't even have to have sight of it, and then you can log back out, or they can log you out. You can just, they can give you access, in order to check what you need to check. You don't even need to see it. And it can be got around that way as well. And I couldn't get on board with that. I wouldn't be giving out that type of detail to some, a relative stranger either. So, okay, next question. How can you check licenses for pupils who have an EU licence? I once taught someone from Latvia who only had a plastic licence. I've no idea whether they were entitled to drive or not, and nobody could tell me.
If it's a European licence, then it would have the same, or an EU licence, not European, EU licence. It would have the same information on it as ours, so the same categories. They would all concur. I'm just racking my brains where Latvia fits into that. I've got in the back of my mind that Latvian is.
It's a geography-related question. We're struggling on a Thursday morning.
I have trouble finding my way home. But again, you can always go on to the gov.uk website as well, and there's also
there is a tool on there.
Yeah, that you can go and find. If this person has got this, what's the requirement for them, and if anybody needs that, we can put that out, or certainly phone up and ask if you don't know where that is. But you can go through and it asks a series of questions, and then it says either they need to change their license, they need to take a test or not, depending where they come from. But I have seen licenses, and some of the writing is not in English, so therefore it makes it more difficult to validate. But if there's categories similar to ours and they've got dates, then obviously that does give you some idea of what they do. But other than that, the only time that would apply is post-test. So it wouldn't apply for a learner, because for a learner, obviously, they have to have a provisional license, UK provisional, in order to take a test. And how that's gained obviously depends on the license they have. And even if it's an EU license and they want to add a category, they have to get a D9 which then shows that there's been checks done on the validity of their license in their own country. So again, that would cover that.
Okay. Somebody asked, should we see the license at every, in capitals, lesson if we have seen it at the first lesson? I don't think there's a need to see it at absolutely every single time. Certainly before any on-road training takes place, and at sensible intervals. If you're training them over a period of time, it's good practice to check it from now and again. You've got no control over what some people may choose to get up to as they're taking driving lessons. I remember years ago, I had a guy turned up at his house and knocked on his door, wasn't there, so I've got back in the car and I've gone to phone his mobile and to see if he was going to be arriving home soon or anywhere else I could get him from within reason. And then within 2 minutes, the guy's turned up in his car on his own, driven up to his house and went to get it, and got in the car. And obviously that's another story for another time, but had to deal with that. It just goes to show you don't know if he's got caught, if he's prepared to do that. People are prepared to do, some people are prepared to do that. A lot of people are not. A lot of people are very honest people, but it does go on. Where you get the issue numbers don't match on the counterpart and the photo card, and sometimes it is a genuine mistake. They've lost one bit, they've reapplied, they've got them muddled up, or they've refound the bit they've lost. Sometimes it may not be quite as innocent as that. They like to have endorsements or points that they don't want you to see. So it's just making sure you're checking them properly. Okay. If we're going to be asking pupils for NR numbers, is there something gov.uk that could prove to pupils' parents that we genuinely need this info? Well, what do you think to that?
I think it is because it's a license checking system. That's the information that's required on the website to access details on their license. If the parent shows you the plastic part and says, "Why do you need anything else?" simply because
that's not a license
in
its entirety.
No,
is it?
there's other information that you need to check, and to check that there's no reason why they can't drive the car. I wouldn't go down the route of saying, well, what if they got points or been banned, because that's a bit confrontational. But the information on the DVLA website would give you, or the access to the DVLA website would give you information relating to whether there's any reason that person is not entitled to drive or ride, depending what they're on. The situation we will have, and it could apply to both driving instructors and motorcycle instructors. When you get a provisional license, obviously all your provisional categories are shown on the card, so therefore you will see what entitlements they have on that card, but then you won't see any endorsements or other information on the counterpart, because that won't be there. When somebody takes a car test and gets a full license, their categories for provisional entitlement are then shown on the counterpart, so they don't appear on the card. Therefore, a motorcycle instructor taking somebody who already holds a full car license, or a driving instructor taking somebody who has already got a full motorcycle license, will not have access on that card to any provisional entitlement. So you'll get somebody come along to you potentially who has a full Category A license, and nowhere on their card will it tell you that they have the right to drive a Category B. So therefore you have to get that information from somewhere, and the only way you'll do that is to go onto License Checker. Otherwise you'll not know whether they've got provisional entitlement. That's also going to happen for vocational licenses, lorries, buses. They're not going to be shown on a full license until they've got a full category. So therefore, for provisional entitlement, you have to check the counterpart. If there is no counterpart, that has to be checked somewhere else. That's going to be on the website. Otherwise, you'll be taking somebody in a car with a full bike license with no knowledge of whether they have a Category B entitlement. technically they should, because they would normally get that, but there's that but. If you haven't seen it, you don't know if they got it.
Yeah. There's a question, what age are NI numbers issued? It's 15, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, about 15 and a half, before they're 16.
Will all 17-year-olds have one? They should do. Yeah. It's a residency thing as well, isn't it? So as long as they're, yeah, so it's as long as they're, I believe as long as they're resident, and they're, yeah, so they should do. Okay, just having a little look through any further questions or anything. Right, let's have a little look on there. There's another question. Hold on. So I'm just having a little read through it first. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Okay. Right, the foreign licence question had all the same categories as UK licence but no paper counterpart. They were entitled to drive being an EU member. There seems no way to verify. The Gov website said they didn't need a test or to change licence.
Yeah. That's because they've got a full licence in their own country. Again, with that, there isn't a check that you can do. There isn't a cross-border check. Having said that, there's things that are happening with the European Transport Safety Council about having a Europe-wide checking system, and whether that will come out to ADIs, I don't know. But certainly the police will have access to that. They're talking now about cross-border fines. So if you go into a European country and you get caught speeding, you will get the fine. That's coming out next year. That'll come into practice. Where at the moment, if you're in a hire car or your own car and you're non-resident in any European country, you're unlikely to get a fine unless they stop you on the spot. So cameras and things, you don't get cross-border fines, but that's going to change next year. So if you go speeding in France, you're going to get a letter dropped through your letterbox when you get home to say that you've got a fine, and penalty points as well. So that, I think that's a positive step. I think, if you go to another country, you should adhere to the rules in that country, and you should be just as safe and legal over there as you would be over here. I know people who go out to France just so that they can go and have a good old race round, because they're not going to get any fines, and I don't think that's quite right. So those things are coming in. The licence could be checked by DVLA or the police. Currently, I believe they can check that, but certainly they may have checks that that we might be able to make. But at the moment, it is a little bit of you take it on face value, and if you've done that and you've taken all reasonable steps to see this person has a licence, it is valid, then you've done what you need to do. And if there's anything on that licence that's known about in that country but isn't known about in this country, that really isn't your problem, because you have taken reasonable steps by making the checks that you can.
Okay. Been asked, can you repeat the D9 notice you just mentioned, please?
Yeah. Okay, a D9. If you get in exactly that situation that we've just been talking about, so you've got somebody from an EU member state who comes to the UK, they do not have to surrender that licence anymore. You can keep your licence from your birth country forever when you go and move to another EU country. So I could take my UK driving licence, go and live in France. I've got no requirement to exchange my licence for a French one, and likewise they wouldn't have here. If I wanted to go to France and add another category, or in fact, let's put it the other way around. I'll get somebody from France, which I've had. A young lad came across, he had a full car licence from France. He wanted to take a motorcycle test. In order to do that, he cannot present his French licence at test, so he has to get a D9. And it looks exactly the same as a counterpart licence. But it's dark. It's like a dark green instead of being a light green. And when they've applied for that, it then has all the provisional entitlements on that D9 as you would have on a UK license counterpart. So it would say that this person, and it would also then have a UK license number, so a UK style license number, because other countries don't have the same style as we have. But what it does, it enables him then to go and take, or her to go and take a test, and it would then match into DVLA's computer system, and then they would get the full entitlement onto a full license.
Okay, so I hope that's answered it for you. Next question. Can one amend T&Cs to require pupils to declare any penalties or endorsements following checks at first meeting? Would this cover one's back? Yeah, I mean, I think that it needs to be, as if you know, many of you know me, I'm a huge advocate for terms and conditions. It's a set of ground rules. You know where we will stand. We know what the rules are should anything happen, and it's good business sense and good best practice to use them. Making sure that you make them available for your people you're training, ideally prior to on-road training taking place, so they can have a little look. It's a bit like a contract, isn't it? So you would view that before you have your extension on your house built. This is your contract between you and the builder, sort of kind of thing. So as a slightly dodgy analogy, but that's the idea. And I don't think it's any. I wouldn't have any objection. I think it would be personally a good idea to have something in T's and C's to say, yeah, this is what I'm going to be checking your license for, and I'll check it periodically with your permission, of course, either physically in the car or looking at the license, or with their permission to do the license checker. And again, as we said, you could get round the fact that if you've got, they don't want to divulge their highly personal information, that's absolutely fine. They can log in with information, and then you don't see it. You just see the details on the license. Have a quick look, make sure everything's as it is, and then log back out again. No problem.
Yeah. One other point that helps is if you put on your terms and conditions that should their circumstances change, they must make you aware of that.
Yeah.
Then what you're doing there is that because they could turn around and genuinely they might not realise that if they get stopped and they go out with their parents, getting additional practice, and they get stopped and they're speeding, they might not let you know that. They might feel a bit embarrassed to tell you that. So they've now got points on their licence, and their status has changed. It could be that they could get banned, that extreme case they might not understand and they've been banned for doing something while they're having driving lessons. They might not tell you, they might not make you aware of it. They might think that they just carry on, and then once they've got a full license everything's okay. So to have something in your terms and conditions that says should your status change in any way regarding your license, if you do get stopped, do get points, or change of circumstances, you must make me aware of that.
Yeah, status would include license, personal details, and health as well.
Yeah, change of address, which you probably know about anyway, because you might well pick them up from home, but again, might not.
Not if they're at university or something like that. So
Okay. So yeah, good idea.
Mention the need to check the counterpart. That's my point with the U licence holders. There's just no way to check the counterpart. What should we do? I don't know if that's quite an old question you've asked on there, but I think we've covered that. So if we haven't, if there's any doubt still, because it's the same person that's asked the question, give us a call at the DIA 0208 686 8010, and then we'll have a chat with you one-to-one.
Very briefly again, just to confirm that at the moment they have to still take a counterpart test. That will continue to be the case until further notice. Don't get everyone throwing it away in January. They have to still take it. If they haven't got one, they've lost it, mislaid it, they will have to get another one. And I'm assuming DVLA will still keep supplying them to people who have lost them right up until the point that they say you can now get rid of it. Because if somebody has a test prior to that date, they have to get a counterpart and therefore DVLA have to keep issuing them. So that's the thing with the counterpart at the moment. It's still there. If you can't check it and they haven't got it, they need to get one. That's the bottom line.
Older D9s used to be blue.
They're kind of greeny, dark sludgy green. I thought they were, but yeah,
sludgy green.
Yeah,
How nice.
Yeah.
How festive. Yeah. So okay, so we've come to the end of the the content for today's webinar. We've answered your questions as best as we can. I'm not seeing any more questions in there at the moment, so I think we'll be wrapping it up very soon. So hold on a minute. There's a couple more questions coming. New D9s do not show D9 on them anymore. Okay.
It used to be just D9 up in the corner, wasn't it? The same instead of having D740.
Yeah.
You used to just have D9.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, brilliant. Good stuff, people. So what we're going to do is start winding down now. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. We certainly have. It's nice to be back with a nice, reliable system. I had no fingernails at the end of the last one. That was a nightmare. Kept dropping out once we managed to get online. So that's all good. We do have a whole series of webinars, and the dates, the times, we're doing more evening ones due to popular demand as well on our website. So it's driving.org/webinar, or you can go /training, and it's on there as well. So we do have a whole list. As I say, they're free for you guys and girls as DIA members. We hope you continue to join us for them. Our next webinar is next Tuesday the 23rd with Karen and myself. So we will be it's an open forum, so we're kind of like ADI Help Desk Online, so we have to be on our toes on that one, I think. Well, there is no set agenda for it. It's kind of your hour, really. So we're going to do our best and to help you with those, your questions, and the ones that there might be one or two that we can't answer. If that's the case, we'll come back to everybody on that and publish the answers later on. So hopefully you can all join us for that one. That would be really good. I think I've lost my mouse. I think that we're come to the end of it now. So thanks everybody. As I say, you should see the web link on your screen now for the next one. So okay, well, thank you everybody, and those of you that can't join us next week, we wish you all very Merry Christmas, and hope to see you back in 2015.
Yeah, have a great Christmas. Those who have a Christmas, have a great Christmas. Those who don't, have a great holiday.
Yeah.
And look forward to the new year.
Very good.
Have a good one.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Excellent.
take care.
Bye everyone.